Al, video games don't stop coming. Even
I
ones
don't
that
still
came
coming.
out a few years ago, they just keep reappearing.
They do.
Just sometimes on
I mean, at
different
least this one was a
platforms.
really good one though.
True.
And with some upgrades sometimes.
Some
Sometimes.
upgrades, the ability to not just have to play it on your phone.
Or have to do like a weird Apple TV thing,
True. Also that.
which was unpleasant.
Yes. Anyways, hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Season Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc, Al, and Lady.
Hello.
This is episode number 428, and we are talking about Fantasian,
Mm-hmm.
or Fantasian Neo
Specifically
Dimension,
specifically Neo Dimension.
which is the re-release of Fantasian.
Mm-hmm. With lots of updates.
Yes, yes. Of course, people might be like, I've heard about this Fantasian. Why do I know about this Fantasian? Well, of course, this is the latest game from one Hironobu Sakaguchi and Nobuo Uematsu, excuse me.
You may have heard of them once or
You may have
twice.
heard they've done some things here and there. It's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all right dudes.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Fantasian, the game that originally was an Apple Arcade exclusive, meaning it was only available on Apple phones, or you could play it, I guess, on a Mac maybe.
Not
Uh,
really. You could play it on phones, iPads. Like I said, you could do Apple TV, but mm,
Janky.
it was pretty janky.
But yeah, that was the only place you could play this game for a good while. It originally released part one in April 1st, 2021, not an April Fool's joke, and then the second half came out on August 13th, 2021. And then eventually they were like, what if we put this on other consoles? And then that, of course, birthed Fantasian Neo Dimension, which came out on December 5th, 2024 for the PlayStations, the Xboxes, the Switch, and the personal computer.
And we have Yoshi P to thank for that.
We do. That is true. It's a
Thanks,
wild. It's
Yoshi P.
wild. We'll get into all of that, of course, here as we talk about the development of Fantasian.
Hmm. Also, just worth mentioning, I did play it originally
Yes,
when it came out.
and you
Um,
were like, I think your thoughts on this game were like, it seems like it could be good, but also it is way too difficult, and also just like, I don't want to play a game on my phone or
yeah,
on an Apple TV.
um, yeah. The first half was very, very good on the devices, but we can talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk about development.
Yeah. Like we said, this was developed by Mistwalker, the company made by Sakaguchi after he left Square. In March 2018, Sakaguchi participated in a live stream with fellow developers playing Final Fantasy VI. That's a video game.
Hmm. He
Re-
had some involvement in it.
a little bit. Reliving those memories, Sakaguchi became inspired to create a traditional RPG modeled on Final Fantasy VI. He's like, man, this was a good game. What if I made another one? The project was greenlit following meetings with Apple representatives who were fans of Sakaguchi's work and wanted him to create a title for their upcoming Apple Arcade platform. Production began in June 2018 with Sakaguchi as producer. Other staff included Taketo Nakamura as director and lead programmer and assistant producer Saho Nishikawa. Arzest, the game development company, assisted development with concept art and character modeling. Due to his advancing age, Sakaguchi approached the game with the mindset that it might be his last large-scale project before retiring from the industry.
They make
Uh,
it sound like he's ancient.
he's on his last legs. He's getting there. This is what happens when you play Final Fantasy 14.
Isn't he like in his 60s?
Let's check and see. 62.
Yeah, like come on, dude. You're not croaking anytime soon.
Outside the game needing to run on Apple operating systems and platforms, Mr. Walker was given complete creative freedom. Production lasted 3 years with a staff of 30 people, with the team using the Unity game engine. The final year's work was complicated by a COVID-19 pandemic, of course, like with everything at the
With
time.
everything.
Sakaguchi described it as a stressful as they were needing to scale models to environments, but felt there would have been a worse impact if the pandemic had struck during the brainstorming phase. The team transitioned to working remotely for the rest of the development. The structure, narrative focus for the first part and quest driven in the second part was directly inspired by Final Fantasy VI. This structural
It
shift,
shows.
this structural shift made it a natural breaking point for the two parts. Apple were also keen to release the game on their platform ASAP, encouraging the team to release Fantasian in two parts. The second part, originally planned as a series of short stories for the characters, turned out much larger than planned due to added gameplay content. The proposal included environments created using real-world diorama models scanned into the game with 3D character models exploring them. This caused difficulties as while computer environments could be changed quickly, the dioramas could not, and so needed to be planned in advance. Battle director Masahito Inoue was left in charge of designing and programming the combat. The gameplay was designed to be traditional, incorporating several elements comparable to Sakaguchi's work on Final Fantasy. He attributed this traditional design to its planned Apple Arcade platform, which hosted conventional game titles. In the spirit of an innovation he remembered from early Final Fantasy titles, Sakaguchi created the Dimension system as both a convenience for mobile players, allowing for prolonged exploration, incorporating an innovative battle mechanic. I never used this.
I used it all the
I
time.
never used it.
I use it constantly. It's such an easy way to like, I guess, gain levels super quick.
I was out here grinding the old-fashioned way.
I mean, I don't know why.
I for some reason I thought like I would just like get messed up if I left it, like if I acquired too many monsters. So I was just like, oh, I'll just play this like I would normally play a JRPG.
I mean, it'll just throw you straight into a battle if you have
Yeah,
too many monsters. It's not like terrible or
terrible.
terribly complicated, but yeah, I love that system. It makes exploration so much easier.
I was just out here just walking around, getting into fights, walking in circles a lot to get more fights. You know, the usual. Anyways, the attack aiming was also designed with touchscreen controls in mind, which also shows.
Mm-hmm.
The general structure of the second part with new gameplay elements and an expanded skill system was attributed to a strong commitment to providing a polished experience inspired by the need to work remotely. Here's some stuff about the scenario and art design. Sakaguchi created the story and co-wrote the script with Atsuhiro Tomioka and Masaru Hatano. Sakaguchi drew inspiration from the worldview from Hayakawa Bunko published science fiction and fantasy he had read during high school, which was a publishing company founded in 1945. There you go.
There we go.
During the early stages, the story was said to have focused on dragons. The final story focused on the theme of order versus chaos, with Sakaguchi making Leo an amnesiac, a much-used story device outside Sakaguchi's work, to better introduce players to these abstract themes. He wanted to portray the characters as human at the mercy of universal powers greater than themselves in a world where will and emotion have power, with in-game conflicts reflecting real-world situations. The number of characters was decided during a rewrite after Sakaguchi received feedback from the team on the first draft. The character Valerica was created in response to art director Jun Ikeda's criticism of a lack of female characters. For the memory section, Sakaguchi used a similar approach of combining text with illustrations and sound as 1,000 Years of Doors, a series of short stories Dreams, a series of short stories within Lost Odyssey, a game that we have played before.
And love.
Shinsuke Kobayashi acted as event designer. Yeah, I remember one of the things you mentioned to me early on when you had played this, and I had, and was like, yo, there's a lot of Lost Odyssey in this here video game. And I was like, ooh, interesting.
Some Lost Odyssey vibes.
Yes. The characters were designed by Takatoshi Goto. Sakaguchi described Goto's design as doing a good job expressing the multiple worlds featured, noting that each lead was given a key color and tied into the story's themes. The in-game character models were designed to fit within the diorama environments, having realistic proportions and a soft doll-like texture. Character animations were done by hand to reinforce the style. The concept art and memory illustrations were created by Manabu Kusunoke. Ikeda described working with real-world dioramas as a refreshing change from his usual design work. During pre-production, concept dioramas were created by Walnuts Clayworks Studios' Tomohiro Yatsubo, who had worked on similar environments for Terra Wars, which was like that other mobile game Mistwalker had made. Was that the game that they did like a collaboration with Final Fantasy 15 for?
Sure is.
Oh boy, interesting.
The dioramas are so pretty.
They very much are, is true. A Terra Wars diorama kept in the studio was used for early testing. Due to the design approach, environmental designs were fixed early on, as any changes requiring redesigns would need a lot of work. Due to limitations with camera size and angles, some environment redesigns were needed. Nishikawa was in charge of coordinating the dioramas. The original plan to 3D scan the dioramas into the game proved unworkable, with Nakamura creating an alternate method of extracting 3D information from photographs with flat environments being more difficult to scan in. Not counting smaller variations, over 150 dioramas were created by 10 companies across Japan, many being veterans of the tokusatsu industry. Several of the modelers have never worked on a video game project before, encountering some difficulties creating objects and environments from the illustrations provided. Yasuba remembered them modeling their environment down to the millimeter to properly reflect Sakaguchi's plan.
Wow.
The Quail airship was created by Marbling Fine Arts Hiroshi Ihara based on the concept of a boat with beautiful curves. LED lights were used in the models as light sources, such as interior lights and fires in the Quail. A notable contributor was Akira Toriyama, with whom Sakaguchi had worked on a number of projects, who submitted a diorama under a pseudonym. As the dioramas took shape, Sakaguchi used them to inform his work on the game design.
That's such a wild get.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know that he made dioramas, and like, I wish we knew which one he did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really wish we knew, but we don't. It's a bummer.
Just show it up, just like, hey, I made this. All right, see you later.
Bye.
Gotta go.
Which they do give him a shout out in the game, which is kind of cute.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, this guy, he did things. I think they actually have like a book that says like he's like a good author or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I forget exactly how they phrase it, but so yeah, that makes sense.
For sure. Here's about the music.
Uematsu.
The music for Fantasian was composed by Nobuo Uematsu, who had worked on the Final Fantasy series and a number of Sakaguchi's projects at Mistwalker. Uematsu composed the entire soundtrack himself. The tracks were arranged by Uematsu, Hiroyuki Nakayama, Tsutomu Narita, Kazuhira Degawa, Michio Okamiya, and Yuria Miyazono. At the time he was approached, Uematsu was having health difficulties, and Sakaguchi feared he would not be able to take on the commission. Uematsu described Sakaguchi's approach wooing him into work again. Uematsu eventually accepted, though hinting to Sakaguchi that Fantasian might be his final full game score. He later confirmed this in 2024, calling Fantasian his final project as a composer of video game music, later clarifying he was cutting back on his video game work to focus on other types of music. He's going to go hang out with his bands and make music for them.
True, but also like, you know, he does one-off songs and some songs here and there, but like he's basically said like this is the last full thing he's doing for a game.
Yeah. Sakaguchi originally requested 50 songs that Uematsu ended up creating nearly 60, with the main theme taking the longest time to create. While many of his scores had a melancholy tone, Uematsu wrote the score of Fantasian around the theme of hope, inspired by Sakaguchi's scenario. The entire score was completed before the game's first part release, with around 30 songs being exclusive to the second part. The soundtrack had no set genre, allowing Uematsu freedom with his compositions. Rather than a purely orchestral soundtrack, Uematsu composed most of the score for a synthesizer, feeling he could get a broader range of sounds and effects out of that than a standard orchestral. It also gave him greater control over different parts of the music. Wanting to break free of conventional music found in the JRPG genre, Uematsu experimented with elements like dissonance and ethnic instruments. He also incorporated improvised music in the form of a jazz track, something he had never done before.
He had never done jazz before? That seems fake.
Choosing battle themes was a struggle, as Sakaguchi and other team members liked each one equally. For the final boss, Uematsu decided to write it like a 4-part opera, making Sakaguchi fear they would need to add an extra face to accommodate the music.
That's funny.
Oh god, why?
Dude, why? Come on.
The main ending theme, Kina, in parentheses Destiny, was performed by Miyazono, with lyrics written by Sakaguchi. One combat song featured vocals by Yasuo Sasai, a veteran of Uematsu's Earthbound Papa's band. And he wrote the song with Sasai's broad vocal range in mind. Additional vocals were performed by the choral group Bars. Uematsu felt that Fantasian contained some of his personal favorite melodies, while Sakaguchi admitted to crying upon hearing some of the finished tracks. The boys just be out here.
You know, they're feeling it.
They put out a physical CD of this
Ooh, I didn't know
on
that.
July 28th, 2021. The song titles were kept deliberately simple so people would have an easy time finding them for listening. That's nice. This release included an additional CD and booklet script for the bonus sound drama, The Tale of Blicko.
Blicko!
Uematsu had previously written The Tale of Blicko for a fan event and included it in a commercial form at Sakaguchi's suggestion, which they then eventually put into the game in the second part.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, there's that.
Which, man, that was wild.
Yes. And then, yeah, the game comes out eventually. They said that the localization was handled by a 5-person team spread across Japan and North America. Included Jessica Chavez, who previously had worked on The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky.
Wow, really?
And also The Last Story.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, it came out. After September of 2021, Sakaguchi's like, yep, we're done. But also, like, maybe we could put this on other platforms and do a sequel, maybe. And that leads us to 2024, where we have Fantasian Neo Dimension, which is out on everything. Also being published by Square Enix.
That's
which is a
really
wild
fun.
thing to say.
Yep.
This is Miss Walker's first title to be released on PlayStation hardware.
That's wild.
Yeah. Their first home console release since The Last Story. And the first time Sakaguchi and Square Enix worked together since 2003.
Wow. Okay.
21 years later.
Wow.
So yeah, Neo Dimension, like I said, this is the version we played most recently. It has better graphics, new difficulty option, gameplay balances, voice acting, which the original did not have, and then balancing updates and all sorts of stuff. And then you can also just like play other battle themes from other Final Fantasy titles if you want, which is wild.
I did not do that because I really like the battle themes.
Yeah, I wanted to hear
Fantasian,
new
but it is
Uematsu
funny.
music, so I was like, that's why I kept it on there. But like, it's wild that it's like, do you want to use like all these other Final Fantasy tracks for fun? I guess. While Sakaguchi had previously left Square Enix on poor terms, while out in Hawaii probably, and wanted to make a name for himself away from his properties, the situation had softened, and he had become a fan and regular player of Final Fantasy XIV.
Yep.
During a dinner with Final Fantasy XIV producer Naoki Yoshida in 2021, Sakaguchi voiced his wish to bring the game to other platforms, and Yoshida offered to have Square Enix publish a title. Yoshida successfully persuaded Square Enix's upper management to greenlight the collaboration, a process Sakaguchi remembered took a long time. I think, of course, like during this time as well, like Yoshida has like climbed the ranks of Square Enix, which probably makes this a little bit easier to be like, hey, let's bring Sakaguchi back into the fold for something. Let's see here. Creative Studio 3, which had worked on Final Fantasy 14 and 16, helped with development. Yoshida did not want to make unnecessary changes, but both he and Sakaguchi wanted to make it the definitive version of Fantasian. Nakamura was happy at the plan to release the game across a large number of platforms and worked with Square Enix to adjust the game to work on each platform. While the original release featured no voice acting, a common feature in Sakaguchi's games, Yoshida pushed for its inclusion in Neo Fantasian due to both fan demand and a do I say Neo Fantasian? Neo Dimension. I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Due to both fan demand and a wish to increase the story's impact, which was a good choice.
Good decision. Yes. Very good decision.
While major story sequences and important conversations were voiced, smaller exchanges were left silent to conserve the game's pacing. The full motion cutscenes had to be adjusted to incorporate the voices. For the environments, the team were able to use the original image and scanning data, which was originally compressed so the game could run on mobile devices. Responding to the feedback on the game's later sections being too hard, adjustments were made, and the new easier difficulty was added. The original version's difficulty was retained as a hard mode. Discussing the difficulty adjustments, Sakaguchi and Yoshida described the new normal difficulty as the game's intended balance. So yeah, if Sakaguchi does not play Final Fantasy XIV and get real into playing Final Fantasy XIV, this game probably does not make it onto other platforms in the way that it does. And like, it may eventually gets there, but it's probably not going to look at like the same way it does here. Like, it's not going to have voice acting. They may not do the balance changes. It might just be like, we just ported it over and have fun. It is wild.
That is wild.
It's wild that Final Fantasy XIV of all things is the thing that made this new version of this game, and also like
Sort of repaired the relationship with him and Square.
yeah, that's so wild.
or at least made him willing to work with Square.
Vice versa.
Yeah,
Like that's crazy.
it's so crazy. I mean, it's great. I'll take it. But it's just so funny that like Final Fantasy 14 is to thank for that. 'Cause like, hell yeah, I love this game.
It's really good. And like you told me like I was like, oh yeah, like the voice acting and everything. And like you eventually told me like, oh yeah, there was no voice acting in the original. I was like, what?
Yeah, there's
that
no voice
huh?
acting.
Like that would be so that takes away so much of the impact of the game.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And the
But yeah,
voice acting is really good.
yeah, it's a very solid job they do there. Um, yeah. The original version of the iOS version has an 80 out of 100 on Metacritic. The new version has an 80 out of 100 on the Switch, 82 out of 100 on PS5, and 83 out of 100 on the Xbox and PC versions.
Kind of surprised it's that low, but yeah, it's not for everybody.
No, I would say so. Also, this apparently says that Switch versions were reviews that noted that there was technical issues during exploration for the Switch version, which I guess isn't probably surprising.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised by that.
Yeah. But yeah, Fantasian. This is a video game. It is definitely a video game that you can look at and be like, "Yep, this was made for a mobile platform."
Yeah,
Big ass UI.
definitely tell like the directional stuff is there.
Yeah. But I think if you look outside of that, like even if that bugs you, like you'll get past it probably pretty quickly and everything. But like outside of that, like this is a classic Sakaguchi Final Fantasy style JRPG.
Yep,
At the end of the
absolutely.
day, like you very much feel like, oh yeah, this is like. I saw someone on the PS5, like if you scroll down on a games page, it'll show like people's video uploads and stuff like that. I saw
Hmm.
someone title like one of their videos for this game as Final Fantasy 9 2.
I could see that
I was like,
actually. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, this just feels like if Sakaguchi got a chance to make another Final Fantasy game in this style, this would be it. I
yep.
mean, you look at the title of the game, it's kind of just like staring right back at you in terms of just like, Fantasian, Final Fantasy.
Hmm. It's not quite as in your face as Lost Odyssey
No,
or Last Story,
but it's there.
but it's there.
Yeah.
And like you can definitely tell like it was inspired by Final Fantasy 6. You can so tell.
Mhm.
Especially like that latter half.
Yeah, especially cuz like, you get a decent cast here, and then like there are parts of the game where they will just like split you off and you'll have different people doing different things, very much how 6 would do in the back half of that game.
Hmm.
Um it does make it a lot easier for you to prepare for the final fights because they are not it's not like you'll have like I did where you'll have like people who are very underleveled and you'll be like, "Oh god, I am screwed." And that was scary, but here it was more easy to be like, "Oh, I got everyone's together at the end. We're good. We can just grind and get everyone leveled up."
Yeah, and
Yay.
luckily they're like, hey, here are these XP stones you can throw on your characters,
Yes.
and everybody gets XP for the fights, so
Yes, which
it,
is nice.
yep,
Love
helps a
that.
lot. Love that, because
Good signs of a JRPG. Everyone
yes,
gets experience.
yes,
Also, like it doesn't matter if they're in your party or in the back line. Like everyone's getting
correct.
the same experience unless you have like
Love
a
that.
one of the gems on that gives you boost experience. But yeah, everyone's getting the same experience regardless. Or I guess you're doing that unless you have the gem, or if someone like gets a higher level than other people and they're getting reduced XP because they're higher level.
Yeah.
Those are the only reasons why you would get different XP results. But yeah, everyone gets the same XP usually regardless. That's a good sign of a JRPG or of a good
Mm-hmm.
JRPG. And also too, you get healed when you level up.
Yes,
You get
love
healed
that.
and your MP's back. That's
Love
all you
that.
need. That's all I want. I'm like, yep, all right, let's go.
Yeah, those are two massive wins.
Very
And
good.
but yeah, like because your characters are kind of split and you have to retrieve them and all that, like having those XP stones where you can get them like up to level really quickly is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like,
Uh, Also, you get the good old skill tree in the back half.
Yeah. Were you expecting a skill tree?
No, it is very interesting how much because you can tell the split between the first part and the second part with how just the way the game is and everything. Because the first part is very linear. You're kind of just going from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have side quests here and there, but it's not like they're taking you to big different parts of the map or anything, or you're not getting them a bunch at a time. It's kind of like, oh, you go to a new area, here's a couple of side quests for you to do around the area, yada yada yada. Very traditional, going from point A to point B, get the story, you move on type deal.
Yep.
And then once you get to the second half, they're like, all right, here's your skill tree. We have new stuff for you to do. You can build out your character however you want. Here's a bunch of side quests for you right off rip. Here's a bunch of new story quests for you right off rip. Go get all your characters right off rip. All right, go at it. Have fun. Go whatever direction you want to go. There you go. And then also, one of the things I think is really smart about the second half is that you'll go to each area and it'll be like, all right, here's the recommended level we have for this specific area, just in case you want to know. And it's that's great. I love to see that.
Yeah, super helpful for knowing what order to tackle things in.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, this game's a lot of fun. This game
is a lot of fun.
Like I said, if you are looking for that classic Final Fantasy experience, especially they just put out those Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. So if you've been playing those and you're in the mood for that style of JRPG, kind of classic JRPG, this is just right up that wheelhouse.
Yep.
It has that idea to it, and then also like we've talked about, it has kind of the ideas of a Lost Odyssey kind of a deal, with the little side, or not side story,
the vignettes.
The vignettes, yes, exactly, with how those play into the story and everything, and how those are kind of fed to you throughout the game and everything, very much in the style of that game in particular as well. So it's kind of a clashing of both worlds of Sakaguchi's time through his game development. You have kind of the classical stuff of the early Final Fantasies combined with some of his newer stuff that he's been making post Square per se. So yeah.
I have to know, who's your favorite character?
That's a hard question.
Because
I don't think there's a bad character in this group.
There's not a bad character in this group. I just want to know who's your favorite.
Yeah. Ugh. I don't know. I don't know if I could answer that right off rip. Especially on the spot like that.
Yeah.
Who is Al's favorite character?
I'm going to say Prickle.
I mean, that's a good choice.
Prickle's a good character. Not that they're bad characters in this, but Prickle's a really good character.
For sure, for sure.
Also, my God, what a champion in terms of combat too. One of the best support characters, period. Woof. Yeah, I really, really like the characters. I think Leo is a fun protagonist. He does have amnesia, but he still has a lot of personality. He's not just the blank I have amnesia type character.
And it's not like he stays like that forever.
True,
by the time the second part rolls around, he's kind of just back to normal. So
I do also think that Leo and Kina are very Cloud and Aerith coded.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Very much so. I like Kina quite a lot. I think she's a fun character. Cheryl's kind of a goblin.
Yes.
She tries to be prim proper princess, but she's just a goblin and real salty at Leo.
It's very funny.
Yeah. Ez.
Also a goblin.
Also a goblin. Also just a broken ass support character. Tan is probably the weakest of them.
Yeah, but also you get him so late.
Yeah.
But then there's here's a giant info dump on who he is.
Right. And like his subplot is actually like really interesting.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Zidekar is just like your pirate captain man.
Hmm.
He's not really a pirate, he's just a captain, but he kind of has pirate tendencies. He's an old feller, has some secrets. Oh my goodness. Um, Valrika is a lover of beards.
A lover of beards. Yeah, for true. Not wrong.
She knows what she likes. She says something at one point to Leo about his lack of like follicle. I forget exactly what she says, but it's incredible. She's basically just like dunking at him for not having a beard like his dad. It's like, oh, okay.
Take that.
Take that. But yeah, I think they're all really, really fun characters. I guess I should also mention Clicker because Clicker is there even though he's not technically a playable character.
Clicker's a
Little robot friend.
yes, a little robot, but also just like is a tandem with Prickle.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, they're kind of a duo character type thing. Um, yeah, they're fun. They're really fun. I also really like the robot-based music.
Hmm.
It's it's good. It's very good. Anyway, I just wanted to get your take on some of the characters.
They're all good.
They're all good. I
I
like them quite a lot.
I also broke your brain by telling you that Prickle was voiced by Ken in Japanese.
I cannot
Which
believe
is
that that's
funny.
the case. I
You're just like,
cannot
huh?
believe because that doesn't seem like anything like what Ken normally does, or at least what I'm familiar with Ken doing.
Right.
Um, so you said that I was like, huh? What? Ken? But is it that's fascinating. Like that's not at all what I would have expected.
Hmm.
It's so funny. Also, my brain constantly calls as easy.
That's fair.
Like I don't know why I can't undo that in my head where I'm like, easy. That's not his name at all. Like at all.
He's
And
just
yet
ease.
is is boy. Little smart kid. Little smart kid.
He's a little smart kid.
Little smart kid.
Combining all your
He's smart.
items together and just throwing grenades.
As you do.
Hmm.
He's so good.
Yeah, it's interesting how they like everyone kind of has their own different styles, like their own base styles, and are different from each other. But like once you get the skill tree, you can kind of build out everyone to be their own sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like you can still like make people kind of like do two different things at once, which I think is interesting. Like, you can have some people kind of just be like your main kind of like damage dealers, but also on the side, like I can do some heals here and there if you want. I mean, I guess I don't know, or just do some like I can do some status effects if you want. Like that's cool. Or like just make them like buffers or debuffers and stuff like that. It's interesting that they're able to kind of like give you that much variety in terms of these skill trees, and especially with like how different these characters are at first. Like they can kind of come you can build them out into something even more different than how you would have thought like these characters are going to be.
Right. Yeah, Ez was like my buffer debuffer healer. But also could do like some like AoE attacks, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he had like that remote bomb ability that was like, I'm just gonna drop this on you. Have fun. Um, but then like you had I'm trying to remember exactly. Like Valrika has some where she can do like healing, but she's like a dark damage
Mm-hmm.
person.
But also, like,
Um,
you level up Arrow Rain and just
oh,
let that unleash on
let
everyone.
that fly on everybody.
It's like,
And then you
yeah.
and then you have the ability where she just gets MP back for like
Mm-hmm.
hitting
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
enemies, and I'm just like, oh, she's unstoppable.
She's just broken.
Yeah, she's so broken. It's great. It's great. Um, like Zenegar can be like a fantastic tank.
Mm-hmm.
You just have him like constantly taunting and guarding, and I like never had him die when he did that. I'm like, hey, everybody, focus on this man. And they're like, okay, I'll focus on him. Cool.
Yeah, Kina's like your traditional healer, but also can do some magic stuff here and there. Prickle is
Hmm.
also a traditional healer, but also does like barrier stuff as
The
well.
barriers are really nice.
Mm-hmm. Cheryl can just like send knights out and just make them do big attacks, which is also
Hmm.
very
But
nice.
also can do like ice magic and dark
Yeah.
magic.
And then Tan can just like send out his little ghost friends, spirit friends
He's got
out there.
little spirit doggies.
And then you can also just like make him drink a potion that's supposed to give him bad status effects, but you just slap some jewels on there to negate that, and he's just super powerful. He's ready to mess stuff up.
One of my favorite things that's broken about Tan is that like somehow you can just put the gem on him to like negate all status effects that you get from the Cinderella Tri-Stars.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, well, have your status boost. Time for you to destroy everything in your sights. And have none of the negative effects. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
He kind of has like the persona thing where like his attacks use HP instead
Yeah,
of
yeah,
MP.
yeah, yeah.
So that was interesting.
Like he's the only
Also,
one who does that, and basically throughout the game.
yes. For the record, I looked it up because I have this screenshot on my PS5, and it is the resemblance is undeniable, though you lack his follicular fortitude.
Got him.
Got him.
Got him.
Yep.
It's
There are two screenshots I have, and it's that one, and the other one is step one, get my friends back. Step two, kick Jazz's butt.
a good plan.
Yeah, good plans.
Oh boy. Yeah,
Follicular fortitude, though.
it's a good line.
It's a really good line.
Good characters throughout, like I said. And then, as we talked about with all these abilities and everything, the gameplay is like, it's very traditional JRPG. It doesn't get like too wacky in terms of like what you can really do with it. It's kind of just like, you have your abilities, you have your attacks, you have items, go forth. But you can also switch out your party members at will. Like it doesn't cost you a turn or anything. So you can just like, if someone's kind of doing not what you need, or it's like it's not the right person for the battle, you can just swap them out, and it's just like, all right, here's the new person in, have at it, go have fun, which is very nice
It's very
because
nice.
they can just go right into attacking immediately. They don't have to like, you don't, like I said, you don't switch and it costs you a turn or anything. It's just immediate and you're back in the fray, which is very good.
I really like this game.
It's very good. um
Um, Also, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
no, you go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, it went with the theme that we've had for like several weeks of like the legacy of the parent.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that's a lot of what this game is just like what is the parental legacy here?
Yeah, Leo trying to figure out like, what his dad was trying to find and all that sort of stuff, and what
Remember what happened to his mom?
yeah, we'll remember what happened to his mom and everything. Kina figuring out her parental situation, Cheryl figuring out her parental situation.
Yep.
Whole lot of
Which their dad sucks.
yes. Also, it was very funny when they introduced him. It was like, oh, here he is. It's Garland, and I was like, oh my, Sakaguchi, come
Garland!
on, my guy.
Garland!
Also, there's a bartender in this game whose name is Sid.
Yes, that is correct. S-I-D.
With an S, but yes, Sakaguchi's like, yo, I got these tropes I've made. You're not stopping me.
You can't stop me. Can't stop, won't stop.
I'm making a game called Fantasian. I'm going to use the tropes I created.
You know what? Good for him, honestly.
It's so funny.
It's really, really funny.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, he really leaned into his Final Fantasy roots here, and I'm all about it.
yeah, why not? Like
No, no, I mean,
if you're going into this thinking like, hey, this might be the last thing I make, why
yeah,
not make something that, harkens back to the stuff that like got you in the place you are right now, and also like some of the best stuff you've made.
right. No, it totally makes sense.
That do be how that works. But yeah, story. I really enjoyed the story in this as well. I think it like the flow from both parts, like it escalates in such a way that you're able to follow it very well, but also it has a lot of good moments here and there
Hmm.
throughout. Like you get to know these characters. The vignettes help a lot as well in terms of like delving into backstory or fleshing out memories and everything that helps expand the story in a way that they couldn't probably show within these within like cutscenes, or just makes it a lot easier to kind of not have to rely on cutscenes in that way necessarily. Which again is something we both enjoyed in Lost Odyssey, so it was really neat to see that kind of that structure brought back here in this way, and it really kind of fits like this. Not necessarily it's like it's a game that's in a bigger scope, such as like a Lost Odyssey is kind of in a smaller scope, and it
Hmm.
still is able to kind of fit in really well here.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I really enjoyed like kind of the twists and turns you take along the way and everything. Seeing Leo's growth throughout the game, it's really seeing everyone's growth throughout the game. Like everyone, all the
Right.
characters really get a lot of good growth throughout. Even you get to see kind of like, all right, why are the villains like this? Like, what has led the villains to this? And you get a lot of like, okay, well, they did this, this, and this, and like you can understand why this, and this led to this character being the way they are now and everything, and like why they have kind of put themselves in the situation per se, and have
Hmm.
this way of thinking and all that sort of stuff. Um, like everyone gets a really good amount of like fleshing out. It's like no one's really super like one note or one dimensional,
Right.
uh, which is good.
It is very good. Yeah, like one of the first things that you end up getting like is this kind of like love triangle thing with Leo, Kina, and Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cheryl was like stood up by Leo and he doesn't remember it. So it's like, did I do that? Am I a jerk? Uh-oh. Um, but like there's less of that as it goes on and more of like Kina and Cheryl exploring like how they feel about each other because they realize like, oh hey, by the way, there's something going on here. Not like romantic, obviously. Let me clarify. Um, and so there is by the end still like obviously unresolved feelings. But it was interesting to see Leo like tackle with like, am I like that? Did I do that? I'm sorry if I did that. I don't
Yeah.
remember it. I thought that that was a lot of fun to see like him tackling like what he doesn't remember but people do remember about him
Mm-hmm.
and like what was actually real and what was him just like faking to try and get the thing that he needed.
Yeah.
Like that was a lot of fun. And Cheryl never lets him live it down. And
No.
Sebastian absolutely never lets him live it down. Sebastian is one of my favorite characters.
God, the twist with Sebastian is so funny.
I did not expect that at all. Did you?
No, not in the slightest. And then when it happened, I was like, uh, 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 sure, all right, let's go with this.
So good. And the
Uh,
explanation is just Cheryl's a lot to deal with. It has to happen this way.
yep. And everyone just kind of like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, makes sense. Um, yeah, like you said, the villains are really interesting. Even like one of the playable characters has like a connection to the villains. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I see this. I see this now. Um,
Well, I guess like two of them.
two of them, yeah. You're right. I was thinking more directly that like one was literally a
Yeah,
god
yeah,
at one
yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah. But like there are two of them that have direct links to the villains in very different ways.
Yes, yes. Um, yeah, the whole like reveal of like, oh hey, I was a god by the way, and I didn't like the way things were handled, so I just decided I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm not gonna be a god, and then gets reborn.
Now I'm a Who man.
Now I'm a Who man,
Everyone's
and I
like,
have a
all
crystal
right,
ball.
sure,
Sure.
all right,
And and then they made babies.
yep.
God, they move fast.
That was funny.
It's really, really funny.
Uh,
Um, I have a question.
Caller, go ahead.
What did you think about Cinderella TriStars?
A very interesting trio that continuously shows up. Um, I thought they were funny in terms of like just being this weird group that just like you'll find them in random spots and then it's like, all right, we got to fight you. And it's like, all right. And they just keep having like these continued gimmicks that just like get weirder and weirder as the game progresses. And then
Mm-hmm.
like once you get through their entire story, there's like they give you this weird bombshell and you're just like, huh?
Huh?
But again, just a weird group of characters that were just like weirdly endearing.
It's very like Team Rocket-ish.
Yes, 100%.
They are like, I can't really take you seriously, but also like I kind of have to at times. But yeah, like having their little gimmicks in their fights, that was a lot of fun to figure out like how do I tackle this particular thing?
Yeah, they're a trio of buffoons that sometimes they succeed following up.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And the one dude, oh shoot, I'm forgetting his name. He looks so tired. He looks so done.
Volt,
Volt. Yes.
the
He looks
violinist.
he looks so tired.
I don't know. I feel like I'd also be tired having to deal with everyone in this group.
No, that's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. He also seems like the most reasonable of the three
Hmm.
because Dottie is the beefy guy and he's just kind of like
The meathead.
the meathead, yeah. And Morgan's just a lot.
Yep.
She's just a lot.
She's just a lot.
And she even teases Leo at one point of like, oh hey, we had a thing at one point. And he's like, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Everyone's just like, wait a minute. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Whoa.
Back it up.
He's like, wait a minute. Am I that much of a man?
Maybe.
Maybe. You'll never know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think the characters are really charming in this, even like the goofy ones and the villains.
Yeah.
And again, the gods are like sympathetic in certain ways.
Hmm.
Um, like you can understand where they're coming from.
Their motives are not too complex for you to not understand it.
You're gonna take me out.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I just the game is so beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like at first I probably wasn't too sure about how the diorama stuff was gonna work or how it would like look in game, but like
Hmm.
it's so cool.
It's
It's
super,
such a
super
neat thing
cool.
that they were able to pull off in this, and like all the places have such a like a neat look to them,
Hmm.
and you can just kind of just see the like you can see the amount of work and detail they put into making these things, and it's
Right.
wild that like they're able to utilize these as like environments in a video game and have these characters run around them and like it all come together in this way. Like it feels like at any point in time this all could have just broken and it's been a complete mess, but it all
Hmm.
works so well and it makes this game look so unique in a way that like nothing else really looks like it.
Right. Like I love just looking at the environments. I
Yeah.
really want to know what happened to the dioramas, but
Yeah. Especially because what did they say? Like they
like
made like yeah over 150. Like
Yeah.
Where are all those dioramas? I mean, obviously, like it's 150 over 10 companies.
Mm-hmm.
So like probably some of them are just like at those various companies or whatever. But like it would be really cool if they did like a thing where they just like put those out on display for people to like look at and see.
Yeah, like some kind of exhibition of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be so rad.
just to be able to see like all the different intricacies and the detail that are in the actual physical product that like maybe you don't necessarily see in the game per se, but also you can like
Mm-hmm.
also like probably look at some of them and be like, oh, this is this place, and look at all I
Right.
know all this other stuff, and yada yada yada.
They can keep the one with the hands though. That one freaks me out.
No, they're gonna show that one specifically.
No.
Hands. I like how immediately I was like, yeah, I'm in the final area, and you're like, have you seen the hands yet? I was like, no. And you're like, you'll know when you see the hands.
And you did.
Ominously, and I was like, oh, I saw the hands.
And you did. You knew when you saw the hands.
Mm-hmm.
There's just hands everywhere.
Hands.
Blah.
Ugh.
Blah.
Yeah, this game's fun.
This game's really fun. I enjoyed it quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's neat that we kind of have this like we get a new classic Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
Like that's just a neat thing to think about. I wonder if like Sakaguchi said he wanted to like make a sequel to this. Like if I wonder if he'll commit to doing that at some point, or like what's going to be really next for him. Because like we talked about like when we were discussing the music, like Uematsu's kind of just done. Like I think if Sakaguchi makes another one of these, like Uematsu might be like, I'll do a song for you. But again, like he's not doing full soundtracks or scores anymore. He's kind of out on that, which is fine. Like
Yeah.
dude's had a lengthy career. He can have a little rest if he wants. Go play in his bands if he wants. That's cool.
He can have a little semi-retirement for as a treat.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's what he's doing for Final Fantasy now, is that he does like the theme songs for Final Fantasy VII, Remake, Rebirth, the
And
like
also
he's
just
been
like
doing those.
yeah, and then also just like kind of show up on like other games as well. Just be like,
Hmm.
hey, you want a song?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Here's a song.
So I'm interested to see what happens there. I remember seeing recently something about like I can't remember if it was a trademark or like a web domain registration or something that had to do with like a Fantasian sequel potentially.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't confirm that 1,000%. I just saw a rumor about it.
Yeah, like that's totally possible.
Hmm.
Especially if Sakaguchi's like been talking about like I mean he was talking about this when the game originally came out. He was like, I'd be okay with making another one of these. And I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, sure.
And I mean, they set it up so that there's a ton of potential for a sequel.
Yeah.
M maybe have to space it out a little bit if Valrica is gonna be a playable character because
No, she'll just be like Lulu in 10-2.
oh my God.
They're just gonna make Fantasian 2-2, and it's gonna be Kina, Cheryl, and Prickle with guns. That's my pitch for Fantasian 2.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm not gonna complain about that.
But yeah, I think another game like this would be interesting. I think the interesting thing would also be kind of like look at it and be like, if they do another game in the style of like, how it's kind of like the classic Final Fantasy esque JRPG, like, will that still be as fun to play, or will this game in particular kind of have like the nostalgia factor to it that kind of helps it a little bit more? Or would like
Hmm.
a sequel, like you kind of just be like, it's the same thing, kind of deal.
Right.
But also, I'd assume like they're going to do more to it if they would do a sequel. But who knows? We will wait and see what old Sakaguchi's doing in the meantime when he's not raiding and making clothes in Final Fantasy 14.
Or maybe that's inspiring him.
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, like, never know what that man's cooking.
You never know. I
I
don't know.
mean,
Let
like,
him do a thing in 14 as well. I think that would be fun.
that'd be fun.
Just let him do like a raid series. Why
Right.
not?
What if they did like a Fantasian related
Crossover?
thing? Yeah,
I could see it happening at some point.
be pretty cool.
It's a good thing the leads of both of those games are, kind of cool with each other, so
Yeah, they're bros now.
so I think they might be able to figure something out there.
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, this game's really cool. Really
Yeah,
enjoyable.
I don't want to like spoil a lot about the story because I feel like it's something that people should really like
Experience for themselves.
experience. Yeah, yeah. Especially like if you're a big fan of like classic Final Fantasy type games, like you need to play this game.
Hmm.
That's you need to. Um, but it is a very good game, a very good story. It plays really well. The music's great, obviously. Like it's beautiful to look at. Um, and yeah, it's just a good time. And um, I had something else and I'm totally brain farting. Again, like you got to think about like legacy of the parents here. Like happens with many of the characters and even is like continuing with again Valrica.
Mm-hmm.
Tan doesn't have much of that, but I guess he's kind of not
Kind
really.
of.
I
Yeah.
do like his little spirit doggies though.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're fun.
Yeah, Sakaguchi still got it.
Yeah, he does. Good for him, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's only one Mistwalker game besides the Terra whatever Bajig
Terra
that I didn't
Battle, Terra
play.
Wars, either one.
Yeah. I didn't play that, but like otherwise there hasn't been a Sakaguchi Mistwalker game that like I've disliked. I didn't play Blue Dragon, and I'm sure you know why I didn't play it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why?
Because it's the Toriyama art.
Correct.
Okay, here's a
Um,
question.
okay,
You've experienced all of like Dragon Ball Z now and everything. Like,
I have.
you saw all that. You've probably gotten more used to his art now than you probably ever have been. Do you
Yep.
think the art would still be a big hindrance to you for like maybe going back and playing that game at some point?
Let me check something real quick. How long to be Blue
Because I think that's a
Dragon?
backwards compatible game for the Xbox.
Makes sense. Ooh.
But it's a Sakaguchi JRPG, so I'm guessing it's not short.
How long to beat says the main story is 45 and a half hours.
Yeah.
Main plus sides is 56 and a half hours.
Yeah.
Completion is 98 hours.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a Sakaguchi game, so it ain't gonna be
Yep.
short.
Yeah, it's got Uematsu music.
Yeah.
Yep.
The boys are back in town.
Ugh. Man, I'll play it eventually, maybe. I just the art.
Yeah, but you're more used to it now. It's not like before where you were just like, ugh, 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 ugh. Now you're
I mean,
like,
I'm still like that.
not as, I don't think you're as much like that anymore.
Look
You'll look at that art and be like, look at that Goku.
at that Goku.
There's another
Look
Goku
at
there.
there's another Goku there and another Goku.
Yeah.
Look at all these Gokus.
You'll be a little bit more charmed.
Mm.
But yeah, that's Fantasia Neo Dimension. It's fun. It's a really good game. Like we said, if you like classic Final Fantasies, the 1 through 6, especially 9, like all that kind of style of Final Fantasy, or just like classic JRPGs from the 80s and 90s,
Hmm.
this game's gonna be pretty much right up your wheelhouse. So
Oh yeah, totally.
you should check it out. Especially check out the Neo Dimension version, which is out on all the consoles and the PC. That is the version to play.
That is
Don't
the version to play. Absolutely,
don't
yes.
play the phone version.
Yeah, don't torture yourself, please. Like, there is a superior version with like good difficulty standards and voice acting, and it runs really nicely, at least on the PS5. I'm assuming on it's on
Xbox and
PC too,
PC.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming on that. Apparently, not so much on Switch, but that's fine.
Don't worry, the Switch 2 is gonna fix
Um,
it.
hell yeah. Um, but like that's the version to play.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Yeah.
That's the version to play.
So yeah.
I apparently put 105 hours into it.
Holy.
Hee hee hee.
Unsurprising.
God,
But yeah,
sweaty.
that's Fantasian for you. There you go.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
And that's gonna do it for us this week. So if you'd like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sec.cool, where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Jared Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. Follow us on Blue Sky at seasonalanimecheckup.com. You can buy our books, One Shiny Moment, a critical analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, Hot Tubs, and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early. Our monthly exclusive Patreon podcast where we watch stuff and talk about it, kind of in a similar format that we do here. But it's about mostly like non-game stuff or anime stuff. It's just, other stuff that's out there.
Other stuff.
Other stuff. There's also a wealth of other bonus content on the Patreon as well. Next week, speaking of people with amnesia,
Oh.
I hear someone decided to get real into piracy
Yeah, I did hear that.
and sailing the high seas of Hawaii. So we should probably check in with them and see what's up with them.
Yeah, we should see what they've been up to.
Yeah. So yeah, look forward to next week and we'll talk about some pirate yakuza.
Mm-hmm.